illustrate it, and it was a great working arrangement.
Romitão.
I told Stan that I was tired of penciling. I thought I was burned out. In 1965, I thought I was finished. And I said, oh, ink, you know, I can help you that way. If you give me pencils, I can polish them up a little bit. So first thing he did was pull out a Daredevil assignment and said, could I help him out in an emergency? And I was a sap my whole life. I was what I call a good soldier. And I said, sure, if you need help, I'll help you out with that. Fully expecting I'll go back to inking after I finish this one Daredevil story. Of course, that lasted 6 months, I think. I did Daredevil, and I started to like it, thanks to Jack Kirby's indoctrination with breakdowns.
A gente até falou sobre isso, acredito eu. Foi no documentário do Kirby, quando o Romitão dá um depoimento, né? Kirby começa a trabalhar na Marvel, faz layout de tudo. John Romita fazia os quadrinhos românticos lá da Marvel, fez coisa pra DC também nessa linha. Quando ele pega um gibi de super-herói pra fazer, ele cumpre ali, é protocolar, né? Um good soldier, como ele botou ali, né? Só que não tem o temperinho, né? E nessa hora, chega o Stan e fala, Jack, por favor, faz uns layouts pro Romita aqui, né, pra ele saber como é que tem que ficar. Breakdown, que é o termo que o Romitão usou aqui, breakdown é o termo que a gente dá pros layouts, que não chega a ser aquele rascunho muito jogado, é um pouquinho mais trabalhado, tem os volumes dos personagens, né, de constituição física, posicionamento, gestual, mas não tem um traço bem acabado para luz e sombra, não tem perspectiva no cenário, nada disso. É para o cara entender a composição e da linguagem de movimento dos personagens. E aí depois, o cara que vai fazer a limpeza do breakdown, vai pegar aqueles esboços, né? Segue a composição feita pelo artista anterior. E é o caso do Romita nesse início. Então, o Kirby passa esse dinamismo, o Romita começa a pegar isso aí e acaba acontecendo dele pro Aranha.
This is the original black and white art, penciled by me, written by Stan Lee, and then inked by me. This is the first splash I did in Daredevil. When I brought in that pencil, Stan accepted this splash, but the pages immediately following it were a little bit...
Vejam só, ele aceitou essa página, mas nas outras páginas, ele provavelmente deve ter chegado. Não, chega aqui, Jack. Tanto que vejam os créditos, né? História Stan Lee, layouts Jack Kirby, lettering Stan Hosen, and introducing the matched artist wizardry of Marvel newest and most eagerly awaited illustrator, the inimitable John Romita. Ou seja, ele diz ali, né, a hierarquia de produção, mas ele enfatiza que eles estão nesse projeto apresentando o Romitão.
But the pages immediately following it were a little bit quiet and slow moving. So Jack Kirby was called and inducted into the sequence. Stan Lee had elevated the art of communicating with the readers on a page called the bullpen page. He was apologizing, if you read it, for the slowness of the start. But just wait till you get to page 3. That's where Jack Kirby took over. This is the Jack Kirby influence. In other words, instead of taking his clothes off and neatly folding them and putting them on a rack, he takes his clothes off, he quickly gets dressed, he prepares, and he leaps out the window without even looking. And he just hopes he's going to find a flagpole or something to land on.
Olha só.
Almost immediately, after seeing the way he paced it, how nothing is slow moving, everything is quick, bang, bang, bang. I caught on almost immediately. Stan didn't have enough time to script all of these things in advance, otherwise he would have. So what he did was, he would verbally or quickly dash out a half-a-page plot.
Vejam só, às vezes eu falo, e tem gente que não entende. Os próprios caras que trabalharam diretamente com o Stan, eles explicam isso. Que às vezes era verbal a parada. O Stan falava para os seus colaboradores, olha, vai aparecer isso aí, vai acontecer tal coisa, só anotava. Não era um roteiro, não tinha número de quadros, não tinha ângulo de câmera. Quadrinho da Marvel, da Era de Prata e Era de Bronze, é timing do artista. Não é só texto do roteirista, é timing. É, ó, trabalho conjunto ali.
And send it to the artist. Mostly it was verbal, I think, just for time's sake. And the artist then would decide what to make a splash scene and how to introduce the characters and how to unfold the story. which was at first terrified me. But almost immediately, maybe in a month or two, I realized, holy mackerel, this is a much better way to do it. Comics succeeded despite doing it the wrong way. It should have always been done visually. Once we made it a visual medium, two things happened. Every artist had his own approach to storytelling, so you had more variety, instead of having a writer's personal approach. Secondly, Stan Lee discovered that after he had the silent drawings, he could now add balloons where he didn't expect to be able to add them. Sound effects could come anywhere he wanted. So he gained freedom. We gained freedom, albeit we gained a lot of time-consuming responsibility, but it also was much more gratifying, and we were able to put our stamp on the thing.
Vejam só, né, a argumentação do Romita. Ele não está comentando tanto do volume de trabalho, mas ele está falando que gratificante, né, para o artista no desenvolvimento é ter essa parcela criativa, né? E é uma coisa que muita gente não entende. Pô, a Marvel, quando tu pega um gibi desse período, e até mesmo na época Roy Thomas, do Claremont, tu tem uma sinergia de artista com roteirista, de um complementar a ideia do outro, muito presente. Tem-se hoje em dia, mas hoje em dia também o script, ele dá uma certa liberdade, mas a estrutura da página está um pouco ali. Ainda temos flexibilidade, mas nessa época, dizer que era freestyle é muito leviano. Mas o cara tinha que ser muito, 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 muito bom em narrativa. Porque senão a página ficava...
It was wonderful. If anything made comics boom, I think it was that accident of expediency. The Kingpin is my favorite creation. Stan's procedure used to be, he would leave me a little card on my drawing table saying next month the character is going to be called the Kingpin. That's all. No description, no limitations. The sky was the limit. All the criminals, master criminals that Ditko and Jack Kirby had created had a similarity. They were all lean, mean-looking, mustached, with a felt hat and a striped suit, that what I would call the established criminal type. So when he said the Kingpin of crime, I immediately was looking for the most different look that I could. So I fashioned him after a Wall Street tycoon baron type. John Jr.'s run on Daredevil is probably one of the most satisfying things that ever happened, because it turns out that I worked on Daredevil for a short period of time, but I felt like it was mine. He then took a run on it, quite a run. The thing with John Jr. is I didn't have to critique him, because the thing that mattered most was storytelling, which was natural to him. And that comes about from the fact that when I started Daredevil, he was about 9 or 10 years old. And we were plotting stories as a family. When we would driving to Cape Cod one time, 5 or 6 hours in the car, we were plotting Daredevil stories. He loved it. He took off. He started drawing immediately. From the time he was 10 years old till he was about 15, he just did a million drawings, never showed me one.
Vocês viram isso? Que legal. E ele com 9, 10 anos já ficava, na época que ele fez o Demolidor, que foi um período breve, né, o Romita Júnior, que depois também se tornou um autor de quadrinhos, todo mundo sabe, né, queridão Romitinha. O cara já tá com 60 anos e até hoje a gente chama de Romitinha. Bolando histórias do personagem dentro do carro quando eles iam viajar.
Never showed me one. He said it wasn't ready for me to look at yet. He said, when it's good, I'll let you see it. And I never intruded. I had known that parents can kill a spark faster than anybody by overzealous following and informing and advising. No, I didn't want to do that. So after 6 months, I was in love with Daredevil. And Stan, he asked me, you know, in the 3rd or 4th month, I did a Spider-Man as a guest star. He was trying me out for Spider-Man without my knowledge. So suddenly he comes to me and said, do you think you could do Spider-Man on a monthly basis? And I said, I guess so, but I'd like to do Daredevil. And he said, Steve Ditko's leaving Spider-Man. Would you mind? And I figured, all right, I'll help him out with this. Again, the sap was there. And I really hoped I could get back to Daredevil. I wanted to, somebody had told me that Daredevil's sales had improved while I was on it. And I was feeling great. I was saying, hey, wouldn't it be nice if I could move Daredevil up to be one of the top sellers? But I never had a chance to find out. So that run on Daredevil was like a a blissful period of 6 months that I enjoyed myself tremendously. I loved that character. I thought that, I still to this day think Daredevil's the best character Marvel has.
Vejam só, né? 6 meses, o gibi começou a vender bem, ele é chamado para fazer o Aranha, nunca mais voltou pro título, né? Só com alguma ilustração que outra esporádica, mas como marcou, né? E sacanamente, não me engano, numa dessas últimas edições, o Stan Lee testa o Romitão botando um crossover do Daredevil com o Homem-Aranha, né? O Demolidor com o Homem-Aranha, para já ver como ia ficar no traço dele, né? Jimmy Collins.
Hi, my name is Gene Colan, and welcome to my studio. I was on Daredevil for approximately 6 years. I enjoyed it, every bit of it. It was getting to the point, though, where it was getting very difficult to keep choreographing the same fight scenes and have them look different. And sometimes I would bring it up to Stan, why are there so many fights in all these stories? Why can't we get away from it? He says, because this is what the fans really want to see. I kept it fresh and original by approaching it each time as if it were the first time. Each time I got a story, and each time I handed a story in, I got another one, it was always uppermost in my mind as to how different can I make this one, and so on. And as they came in, it was almost like an assembly line. But I just threw myself into it, lived another life in a sense. I tried to get into that story myself. I tried to jump into the page and try to imagine what it would be like to see it visually as an outsider. What am I looking for? What am I trying to capture?
Gene Colan, caso vocês não saibam, ele é muito conhecido pelo material dele na Tumba do Drácula, né? O gibi que ele fazia de terror na Marvel. Mas o Gene Colan já passou pelo título do Capitão América, inclusive foi logo após, ou um pouco antes, acho, da volta do Kirby no título, e para Marvel, né? E ele no Demolidor também, ele implementou um gestual no personagem que tu só via aparecido no Buscema. O trabalho do Gene Colan era muito, eu não diria que era fotográfico, ele era mais fotográfico, por assim dizer, no título do Drácula. Mas no Demolidor, o movimento do personagem era bem acima do que o Romitão fazia, né? Ele usava quadros com formatos bem diferentes. E isso antecedendo o Neil Adams, por exemplo. Então, dá para dizer assim que o Gene Colan bateu ali fundo no Neil Adams com aquele esquema do overacting, né? Do personagem, às vezes, sendo colocado em ângulos de perspectiva muito fora do habitual, né? O trabalho dele é notável. Eu ainda acho... Tu tem, hoje em dia, evidentemente, desenhistas muito corajosos que trabalham a perspectiva do corpo humano e a luz e sombra com muito domínio e bastante desenvoltura. Mas numa época que tu tinha que fazer um gibi ali produzindo uma página por dia, no mínimo, sabe? Às vezes com uma qualidade gráfica de merda, assim, o Gene Colan tirava água de pedra.
If there was a fight scene, I would try to do it in a way that would confuse the reader. Because in real life, very often you don't see the details. You just see action, and you don't see things flying much else but arms and legs and people sailing over tables, but you don't see the details. And very often it's done in a dark room where you can even see less. But it's exciting. It's more dramatic that way. It keeps the viewer on edge. I wanted the story to be sort of mystifying and sinister. I was working for the older crowd, and I probably didn't know it. I was really working for myself. I had such a good time doing what I wanted to do and telling the story the way I wanted to tell it. I didn't want to tell it the simplest way. I wanted to be confusing, and I wanted to be complex, and I wanted the reader to think about it a little bit, take it seriously. Even though it's not a thing to take seriously. But
Os ângulos que esse cara fazia na época que isso aqui saiu, velho. Deixa eu voltar só um pouquinho aqui, gente. Olha o esforço dessa figura do quadro da direita, cara.
And very often it's done in a dark room. But you don't see legs and people sailing over.
Olha essa perspectiva do cara saltando por cima do Demolidor e o Demolidor deslizando por baixo, cara. Porra, é uma coisa que, assim, quando tu para pra pensar aquele tipo de disposição, isso aqui o Kirby já fazia, não tem nem dúvida disso. Mas uns caras classudos, assim, old school, com anatomia cuidada, eles tinham medo desse tipo de ângulo, porque fica desajeitado, sabe? E o Gene Colan fazia isso aqui com o olho fechado, cara.
I was working for the older.
Nenhuma piada com o Demolidor aqui, certo? Falei uma expressão.
I was working for the older crowd, and I probably didn't know. I was really working for myself. I just, I had such a good time doing what I wanted to do and telling the story the way I wanted to tell it. I didn't want to tell it the simplest way. I wanted to be confusing, and I wanted to be complex, and I wanted the reader to think about it a little bit. Take it seriously, even though it's not a thing to take seriously, but I wanted them to take it seriously, because I took it seriously. You have to really love what you're doing, above and beyond anything else. It's just something you're drawn to, literally drawn to, and whether you get paid or not get paid, and for anyone that wants to study art or go into art as a profession, if they're not passionate about it, the chances are they're not going to be that successful about it either. My feeling about what I'm doing, the love that I have for it, how dramatic and how believable I want to make it to the readers, gets right into the artwork. It's an unconscious thing. And that's how a style, I believe, is developed too. That's an unconscious thing. When you have developed a style, it's as recognizable as your handwriting. Same thing.
Você deve estar percebendo que ele desenhou o Demolidor e o Howard o Pato na mão dele, né? Então, o gibi do Howard o Pato teve arte do Gene Colan. Liguem as coisas. O Gene Colan ilustrou, inclusive, o gibi do Howard o Pato. Ele conseguiu fazer isso, que vocês viram, no gibi da porra de um pato, cara. É...
But to be successful in art or any other field, you have to really love it and be totally devoted to it. Unfortunately, especially in my business, a family life is missed. It's a sad thing, but you're not really with your family that much. You're married to your art. And I have some regrets about that, and there's nothing I can do about it. I did the best that I could, but my art seemed to come ahead of everything. Maybe that's what makes for the artist.
Eu me lembrei quando eu vi pela primeira vez esse documentário, esse momento que o Gene Colan ele comenta, né, que infelizmente no ramo dele é muito difícil ter uma vida familiar normal. Eu não sei se isso aqui tem algum histórico dele ter de repente ficado pouco tempo com os filhos, com a família em geral. A gente nota um pouco de amargura, que ele até fala que tem algumas coisas que se arrepende. É tudo uma questão de administração de tempo. E há pouco também o nosso amigo aqui, o Ricardo, ele falou que se trabalhava muito naquela época. E realmente se trabalhava, os prazos eram inumanos. Mas é o tipo de coisa que eu acho que de uma profissional para outra muda bastante, né? Mas eu não sei também as escolhas, o comportamento, a vida que o Gene Colan pode ter tido. Mas a gente nota um pouco de pesar aqui.
And it meant nothing to me to stay up until, say, 3 or 4 in the morning to complete what I had to complete until it was right. Artists are very self-centered people. They love what they do to the exclusion of just about everything else. They kind of live in a bubble, at least the comic book artists do. I can't continue the same pace. I'm 76 now, and I just can't keep up with it. I don't have that kind of energy, but I still do it. I love doing it, and whenever I can, I do. But I'm trying to make up for the things that I didn't do also. I pay a little more attention to my children, certainly to my wife, who is 75% of the reason I'm still here. I'm very grateful to her.